comment, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen, and if the chairman allows, we'll bring you in.
Thank you, Dawn. I'd like to call to order the May 19th meeting of the Prison Board and ask if I can have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 21st meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of our previous meeting. Any comment, question, or addition or deletion? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering, do we have a quorum? I see the sheriff isn't here,
Yes, we do.
or the district attorney.
Four is a quorum.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say yes or aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, same sign, so moved. All right.
You have a raised hand in public comment, Commissioner.
Oh, I see that. All right. You want to bring that person in?
Yes, I have a few questions. What are your facilities policies when someone is ordered immediate treatment, and what happens if the facility is unable to provide it?
I didn't get that message. It was my audio wasn't good.
What are the policies of the prison for medical treatment that was immediately ordered for an inmate if the facility is unable to provide it?
Something about medical treatment.
What is the policy to provide medical treatment that is immediately ordered but cannot be provided in the facility? I believe that was the question.
So we follow the protocols and what Prime Care Medical, our vendor, provides. And hi Esther, good morning. They provide the services based off the orders that are received. Obviously, when it's in a court order to say follow treatment, it's kind of hard to follow because what a judge can say is treatment and what a medical professional considers treatment, there might be a difference of opinion, which we would have to yield to whatever the medical people are saying, because that would be their expertise, if that makes sense.
Okay. I have another question. What is the procedures of the prison obligated? What procedures is the prison obligated to follow if a sexual abuse claim is made towards an applicant?
We have a policy in place and we do follow it. There's an investigation that's conducted once a allegation is made. Each party is talked to. If it's something that the party that maybe it wasn't to be found of, they can pursue it by writing the Pennsylvania State Police. The state police would then come in and provide an outside investigation, and they would forward the results to the district attorney's office to see if there's a need for any kind of criminal charges, etc.
Okay. And would the inmate be removed from any contact with the accused until the case is closed?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
While the investigation is open, would the inmate, the offender would not have any contact with the inmate, correct?
Everything is done on a case by case basis. If the parties are spoken to, like everything is dictated by what happens during the course of the investigation. So I can't really give a blanket statement. It's more of each case, because each case is defined differently based on what the facts are involving the allegations.
But while the investigation is actually ongoing and not closed yet, with the inmate, with that person, that officer still have contact with the inmate, not knowing if the case was going to be investigated or not?
With all due respect, and knowing knowing that you at one point were incarcerated, I feel like this is a separate conversation, not one that should be made for the public due to security and operational concerns.
Oh, okay. Well, what course of action what would that inmate have to do to receive the results of an investigation? once your investigation is completed as a facility, would they be made aware of the results?
Anytime an investigation is conducted, the deputy warden treatment or one of the administrators would meet with the people involved. And there would be a discussion as to what the findings were and how anything was going to proceed forward.
And that would be the job of the director, or deputy warden of treatment, to make sure that the inmate is informed of that?
Yeah,
Okay. And if the inmate never received their results, how did they go about getting them once not incarcerated anymore? And to save you some time, I was told that they contacted state troopers. The state troopers filed right to know form. So if they couldn't get the information they needed to do this, what would they do?
you were breaking in and out. I could not hear your question.
If you wanted to find out the results of an operation, of investigation for sexual abuse, and it was never reported to you, and you are released, how do you get the results of that investigation?
I'm not sure how to answer that because in a specific instance, I believe that this was discussed and spoke about prior.
No, I never get an answer to that. Because actually, someone told me to go to file it to the state troopers, and the state troopers say, you guys tell us that, and we would need to know like the date it was filed and all that. So how would somebody go around doing this? These are questions I've been asking. Sorry, I don't mean to bring up this to be the only way I can get. These are questions I've asked repeatedly, so I'm not getting answers. So I would contact the deputy warden of treatment, and she could give me the details of when it was filed and the outcome of the investigation.
I don't feel like it's appropriate to be talking about an investigation that happened in a public forum to protect your rights and the rights of the facility. If you would like to have you could have your attorney make contact with the facility and we can go from there.
Okay, that's my next question. If an attorney subpoenas court records from the jail, medical records, full medical records from the jail, could the jail have any reason to not release them legally?
With all due respect, I believe that's a question for you and your attorney.
Why my attorney? Because the public should be able to know this, or if somebody's trying to get answers to their medical records. Do you have I'm sorry, let me reword it. Does the jail have a policy to obtain medical records for inmate that's released? Just answer me that.
Would that fall under right to know, Jamie?
Well, in some cases it would, but I believe an inmate could be entitled to their own medical records, but the person can't get medical records of another person if they.
Oh, no, I'm talking about your own medical records.
And my suggestion is you reach out to Prime Care. Prime Care would be the medical provider. You would have to go through their legal team in order to get the medical records procured by you while you were incarcerated in this facility.
Okay, so if the court subpoena is issued to them and they tell you contact Prime Care, your medical records should be released to you without a problem, right?
Again,
That's the problem.
that's between you and Prime Care.
Right, and a court subpoena is that's different than just a request for the records. In that case, the court has issued a subpoena that mandates someone to provide records.
Okay. And so if a person provided that for them, they would have to release the records, Prime Care, the jail, whoever you go to, right?
A subpoena, I would say yes.
A subpoena. Okay.
But a subpoena is usually obtained in the course of a lawsuit or a criminal investigation.
I'm asking for me because I tried to get them. They told me I needed to get them. So I did get them twice. And then I didn't get it. Now, is there an organization or somewhere that inmates can contact while incarcerated or once released if they feel like any of the procedures were not followed properly?
Yes, and I believe you're well aware of this. You had been in contact with the Prison Society. They're an agency that helps. If you Google advocates for inmates or incarcerated individuals, I'm sure you will find a list of advocates that would be willing to assist you.
But in Lebanon County, do you have a place that just oversees kind of the jail there to make sure that everything is followed and proper there. Or no?
The prison board approves policies and procedures that are in place at the Lebanon County Correctional Facility, Esther.
And how would one find that? Can you give me the details for that, please?
You're participating in a prison board meeting, so the individuals included in the prison board are attending this meeting.
So I would reach out to one of them if I had a problem.
Unless you have an attorney representing you, then your attorney should represent you to the attorney for the prison or for the county. I mean, that should not, crossing over if you have an engaged attorney. Would be my.
So basically, right, if you feel like the procedures that I was just given were not followed at all, then you would have to get an attorney to.
No, if I thought someone said that you have an attorney. So if you do, that would be your spokesperson. If you
Yeah,
don't,
I'm sorry, I'm asking for people that don't. I'm not asking for me. I would like to know for the public because people don't know this stuff.
Esther, the inmate handbooks, when somebody becomes incarcerated, there's an inmate handbook that has the policies and procedures of the institution, that has the expectations of both the staff and the inmates. Again, if there's a violation or something that you don't feel was done appropriately, there's a handbook. In the handbook, there's a section called grievances, which I believe you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
You can grieve something that you don't feel was done right or appropriately, and then you would get a response. If you are then not happy with the response, if it meets the grievance criteria, which is laid out in an inmate handbook that an incarcerated individual would receive when they come to jail, then they could go forth and file something called a 1983 form, which is the process of a civil rights lawsuit.
1983 form, you said.
Yes.
Okay.
If
I'm gonna let you know. This is my last thing I gotta say, but I'm gonna let you know, Tina, that the your sexual abuse policies are not in the handbook unless you've got a new handbook. We looked through the whole thing from the top, and I've addressed this with them. She said, actually, I called the county commissioner's office, and they said they can't disclose them to the public. The procedures that you guys have to follow for sexual abuse. They told me it was not allowed to be reported to the public. It was public, it was private record. So why, I'm kind of wondering why that would be private and how you would know what's supposed to be done if it's private, if it has doesn't say it anywhere. How would an inmate know that?
an incarcerated individual would be able to reflect in the handbook. There is policies laid out in that handbook, Esther.
So you got a new handbook then since 2020 and since 2020?
Title 37 requires each institution to have a handbook. There's always been a section in there regarding sexual assault or any kind of issues. If you're not happy or find that a policy or procedure is suitable, it's stated in the handbook. It's been stated in the handbook.
It's not, but I'll go with it for now.
Okay.
And so deputy warrant treatment is the person you would go to if you don't feel that was met, right? And they would be the one responsible for that, solely responsible for handling that case. Allegation. And making sure that all the procedures were followed. The deputy would be responsible for that. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I have no further questions, guys. Thank you for your time.
There are two other ratings.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, would you please identify yourself and where you're from? What municipality?
I'm in the South Lebanon, I guess, municipality.
Yeah,
I just
good.
had one question.
And your name, please?
Kathy Palmer.
Okay, thank you.
One question in reference to a question that Esther asked. I see Tina Litz listed here, but I also see that name listed for another lady in this meeting. But the young lady with the dark hair that's been speaking with Esther, I guess this question is to you. Esther asked, like, what gets done if someone reports a sexual abuse? She said an investigation has started, and I wasn't clear. Who would report this to the state police? Is it the inmate's responsibility to report the situation to the state's police, or is it the prison staff who received the complaint? Does the prison automatically report an investigating incident to the state police?
There's different levels of allegations that are set forth. So if it's something, are you familiar with PREA, the Prison Rape Elimination Act?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so prisons try and comply with what's called the Prison Rape Elimination Act. We have a PREA coordinator. I became warden in February. Prior to that, I was the deputy warden of treatment. We have what's called a PREA group. So if an inmate makes an allegation, the allegation is then investigated either by the deputy warden of treatment or the PREA coordinator, which currently is director of training, Scott Richmond. So then there's an investigation law and individuals involved are spoken to. After that happens, if it's founded to be an investigation, it gets forwarded to the Pennsylvania State Police. If it's unfounded, meaning that there's not enough anything to go anywhere because it's not credible or it can't be proven, the individual that is the alleged victim is welcome to write the state police and put the allegation there. The prison is open for the state police to come in and perform an active investigation, in which place, if they choose to, the prison can't force them to do so. If they choose to, they would speak to all the individuals, the alleged victim and the alleged perpetrator. They would just talk to everybody involved in the situation.
Okay. So the director of, say that position again.
The director of training or the deputy warden of treatment?
That's it. Deputy warden of treatment. Okay, yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you're saying in accordance to the deputy warden's investigation, if they feel like it was a founded complaint, then it's their job to report it to the state troopers. Did I understand it correctly?
Yes. At any point, somebody that feels like they're a quote unquote victim in the facility, they can always reach out in writing to the state police, or when they meet with the counselor, they might want to talk to SARC, which is the Sexual Assault Advocacy Group. And then we allow them to come in to meet with the individuals.
Okay. That answers my question. I have a better understanding of that.
Thank you. We have one more raised hand, I believe.
Hello, check. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
My name is Carl Brightwalk. I hail from Annville, Central Annville Township. My question is, changing the subject a little bit. I don't know if someone, I came a little late to this meeting, so if someone asked, pardon me. But is there a plan, this is a very broad question, but is there a plan to vaccinate the inmates at the moment? And if so, what might that be?
Yes, May 13th, we actually, prime care, our medical provider, was able to ascertain vaccinations, and we did a clinic within the facility. About 23% of our population voluntarily got vaccinated.
And that's the first vaccine?
The one that they were provided was Johnson & Johnson, so it's a one-stop shop for now.
Gotcha. And so for the rest of the population, they were not going to do it simply because they were not willing, or was the plan to do like X amount of vaccines one time and then people are going to come in again, or?
So as it stood, our medical department went around with voluntary waivers for individuals to sign up to do it. Whoever wanted to do it, we were able to do it. There was an area of the prison that had a little bit of COVID going on, so they did not have that opportunity to be vaccinated that day. My understanding with Prime Care is they're working on, they have a list. When they can ascertain more vaccination, more vaccines, then we will proceed with another vaccination day. And we will do that as the need and as the medical provider, you know, in talking with the inmate population, like as we need it. Obviously, we just can't get the vaccine like later today and be like, okay, we're going to vaccinate everybody that's left. We have to kind of work with the Department of Health in moving forward with that.
Okay, and I'm sorry. Tell me the name of the group that came in again.
Our medical provider is Prime Care.
Prime Care. Thank you. All right.
All right,
Okay, great. Thank you. That's very kind of you to answer my question. That's all I have.
thank you, Carl. And we have one more raised hand, it looks like.
Okay,
Welcome to our meeting.
this is John Rose, and I have a follow-up question on the vaccinations. People who are not vaccinated then really present a risk to others who are not, especially those who are not vaccinated. Do you have a policy to reduce that risk? And I'm concerned about, especially because of the fact that residents move in and out of the facility and back into the community, and therefore there is a potential for the spread of the virus because of being in the facility for a period of time.
Sir, the facility is no different than the community. People have a choice. We can't force people to be vaccinated, just like in the community, people have a choice to make. What we do in the facility is we work with our medical provider to do the best we can and offer what we can.
How about testing in order to moderate that risk?
Our Prime Care medical provider does do testing upon intake. We have an area that's set up for what we call COVID quarantining. So we can filter through people that have the antibodies through a different section of the prison, people that need to go through what's called a COVID quarantine, which is 14 days plus 1 day. That's how we try to reduce and mitigate the spread of COVID within the facility.
And you have not become a hot spot over this past year. Would that be appropriate to say?
Again, sir, just like the community, the potential is always there. We've had some issues. We've had some times where there was COVID in the facility. We were able to mitigate with the help of Prime Care, the medical provider, coming up with a plan of action to reduce the spread. And we were able to, knock on wood, we had no issues working through that.
I wanted to bring that out because I think I want to indicate that you have been fairly successful during this very difficult time, and I appreciate that.
Sir, thank you. That's a credit to our medical provider and our staff trying to be diligent with the PPE and following the procedures that the CDC has set forth, and what our Prime Care medical provider has been educating our staff as well as the inmate population on doing to, again, mitigate the spread of COVID.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. All right, we'll continue with our meeting. If you want to continue, Warden Litz, with your report, if there's anything in addition to what you've provided.
I don't want to add anything to my report. I would like to acknowledge that the week of May 2nd through 8th, we celebrated National Correctional Officers Week. That was important just for our staff to be noted and appreciated for the work that they do as essential employees.
Any questions about any of the other deputy reports? If not, anything from the floor. Commissioner Litz.
Yes, at the state county commissioners meeting, one of the incentives that was discussed was a possibility of allowing people who are on work release or doing anything of that nature, they can participate in the program if they have the vaccine. And it was suggested that we talk to our solicitor about that possibility. And I wondered if Tina was looking at that or would consider looking at that.
Honestly, I have been in contact with President Judge Tilwalk about what work release would look like within the facility. I'm trying to work with Prime Care to come up with a plan. Operationally, our work release housing units occasionally house people that are, their charges and their bail allow them to be in that housing, but they maybe not be approved to actually go out to work. So the concern would be to bring it to the solicitor, the prison board, to say, hey, other places are saying, because work release is a voluntary program, it's a privilege to be on work release within a correctional facility. Would you, in order to be part of that program, comply with getting the COVID vaccination? So we haven't quite been able to work out a plan, because if you have people that are coming and going from our facility out to work and coming back, and they're still coming back in a housing unit that they share with people that don't have the vaccine, or so we're still trying to work out the safest way that we can move forward with that. So it is on the radar. It is being discussed. I just need more information from Prime Care to feel comfortable, putting the gas pedal down to the metal to move forward with that. I don't know what your feedback is. I appreciate your feedback.
If I can find the email or the summary of the meeting, I will gladly forward that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jamie?
Yeah, this question for, is it Cindy from Prime Care? The percentage of inmates that participated, 20%, 22%?
About 24, I think, yeah.
24% of inmates participated in the vaccination. Is that number consistent with the other facilities you provide care to? Do you have any idea about the numbers in other Pennsylvania counties?
I don't have numbers for the other prisons. I would say that's probably like fairly typical, like somewhere between 25-30%. People are still kind of on the fence as to what, and they listen to the news. And so now you hear that, COVID vaccines some aren't safe, so they're kind of on the fence as to whether or not they want to get that. We plan on running clinics. We ask everybody at intake whether or not they would take the vaccine if it was available. And when we get somewhere between 20 and 25 people, we'll run another clinic. And when we do that, we will go through the prison again and ask the inmates who haven't been vaccinated if they've changed their mind and want that again.
Okay.
Yes, because the population is turning over, every month to some degree. When the population's higher, obviously those numbers are greater, but I think the length of stay average is just below 60 days. So it's, you can see how you'll get new people often that are going to need to be asked, and those will turn into a clinic for you. Yeah, Commissioner Litz.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I was wondering, Cindy, do we, there are people, like almost 100 people, who have not been processed and found guilty of anything. They've not been through the system. They're just kind of in a holding pattern. Are they also included in this? Yes, Tina is shaking her head yes. I didn't know at what point they were approached to get the vaccine. Do they have to be found guilty, or is it as soon as they come there and they're just being in holding?
If they're here in the prison, they get offered the vaccine.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else from the floor? Seek a motion to adjourn.
You had another hand up.
Wait, we have another hand up. Okay.
Another one.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please identify yourself and your municipality.
My name is Beth Aminov and I live in Lebanon City.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I have actually a couple questions. First of all, I heard Tina talk about an inmate handbook, and I'm wondering if that's available for the public to see.
Is it on the website?
I have to check. I don't have a 100% answer on that right now.
Okay, so can I have somebody tell me that they will get an answer back to me, and how and when?
If you want to email me,
Sure.
I will gladly check and then respond to you.
Okay, and how do I have your email?
It's TLITZ
Uh-huh.
at LEB as in boy.
Yep.
CNTY.org.
Okay, I will send you an email about that. All right, my second question is, I just came up with questions as I was listening to the meeting. And I heard the first woman talk about a case of sexual abuse and things like that. And I listened very carefully to the answers. And I guess some of my question has to do with best practice for investigation. And, who proves that an allegation is credible or not? I heard it to be said the deputy warden makes that kind of a judgment call. And I was thinking to work situations that I've had in the past, and that isn't really a best practice, right? Like if I'm an employee at a company nowadays, there's a helpline that you call, and your complaint can be anonymous, and outside agencies do those investigations. And I'm just wondering, why would our prison run it maybe in a different way than regular people? Like, why would you run differently than maybe any other company runs in that way?
Jamie, did you have an answer?
Yeah. I mean, if you're referring to inmates, then clearly the difference starts with an employer versus a correctional facility. An employee would be a different circumstance than an inmate, number one. And number two, the helplines that you're referring to, my experience is that those are, they field the calls and they record all of the information and the allegations and so on, but it's typically passed on to the HR department of the company then. So it's still investigated internally. It's just that it's received anonymously.
Excuse me, I was just able to confirm the inmate handbook is online. And
Okay.
also to note that we also have a captain of security that participates in investigations. So let me clarify, it's not just like somebody trying to take somebody's opinion into it. As a deputy warden treatment prior to my promotion, I went through a PREA investigatory class. So I actually went through a class provided by the Department of Corrections that taught me how to interview, ask questions. We're able to ask questions, interview individuals, witnesses, and we're also able to review camera and footage, all that stuff, which if you're familiar with the investigatory process, those are all ways that people use to provide an investigation and details regarding that.
Well, Jamie, to kind of respond to you, I do understand the difference when you're saying one's an inmate and one's an employee, but I guess the bottom line is everybody's a human being.
I agree. Yeah.
And inappropriate situations happen in all places, and everybody should have the same opportunity to be able to be heard and have what they're saying be taken into consideration. I'm sure plenty of employers have false complaints as often as they have true complaints, and the same would be the same in the prison, at least I'm thinking in my mind. So that's where that was coming from. Okay, I guess, a concern is always, even in a company, any company, is that, you take care of your own. And,
Ma'am?
like you get each other's backs. Is that not?
Ma'am, all the employees here at the Lebanon County Correctional Facility, we sign what's called a code of ethics. So within that, that's not taking care of your own, that's doing the right thing when it's called to do the right thing. We don't condone sexual abuse of inmates or staff or anything of the above. The checks and balance system is, yes, we do our own internal investigation. We document, we create files. We also open the avenue up for the state police to stay transparent So if somebody feels like a wrong was done, they have the avenue to go through a law enforcement agency that comes in here freely to do their own and conduct their own investigation. So if it doesn't match up, the state police, they will do the right thing too. They would go through the district attorney's office, they would be in contact with the commissioners or myself, and we will work through that process. If somebody needs to be, as an employee, gets found guilty or needs to be disciplined for a wrong, or even if it gets to the extent where they have to be charged criminally. The third balance part of that is inmates have access to, again, the Sexual Assault Resource Center. So they're able to make anonymous, like they can write for somebody to come in to see them. We have an open door policy for them to come in to see the inmate, and then they're mandatory reporters. So if a sexual assault counselor that comes in to see an inmate feels like there's a wrong that's being done, again, we follow up on that with, again, including the state police involvement.
Okay, thank you. I actually wasn't asking just for sexual assault. I was just asking in general, just to clarify that, you know, if there are things the prison's not doing in regard to or something like that, how do prisoners complain about that in a way that their complaints are credibly assessed and that they are heard? So I wasn't just specifically speaking about sexual assault. I was just speaking across the board.
Across the board, the state police do come in. Like if somebody says there's just like a simple assault, like a fight, or somebody stole something from somebody, just to clarify, they do come in for other things other than just sexual assault allegations.
So, I mean, how does a prisoner even get in touch with the outside world to do that?
Well, currently, I mean, they're able to write letters, but also right now, GTL and the facility is providing free phone calls for a period of time because we don't have our visiting back to normal because of COVID. So they do have access through the phones, and they do have access to write via the postal system.
But you guys read all the letters that are going out. You listen to the phone calls, right?
No. So what happens is people get that misconstrued. We scan the letters for any kind of contraband, for any kind of security breach. Like if somebody's trying to mail something out that they shouldn't be mailing out, like contraband or that kind of stuff.
So it wouldn't, if you guys saw a letter going out, whoever's looking at them, and if it was something about I mean, so again, it's not something unseen, right? You guys, it's not private. They couldn't contact help. They couldn't contact help just between them and the help. They know that everything they're saying or doing is being monitored.
Gordon,
Right.
can I
So, like,
interject there for a minute?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Deputy Warden Mike Gott. I'm the second in command with Warden Litz. And in regards to what the warden is saying, we do not, again, specifically read any type of letters or anything like that. The only thing we do is, like she said, we check for contraband or anything of that nature. So for you to say that we are sitting here specifically looking or whatever and listening and no, we don't. The only time that would happen, and I'm not going to get into a lot of whole security issues and reasoning, but unless there's something specific that we are looking for or specifically tipped off by somebody, that's the only way that we would specifically look for anything. So, and I can tell you from numerous investigations, we as an administration, we even recommend to the inmate, go ahead and write Pennsylvania State Police. We actually give them the contact information. So at the end of the day, it's completely transparent. So if there's a thought or a process that there's something to be hidden or trying to hide, that is one thing that we're not very eager to do. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. We want everybody to be able to come in and investigate the way it's supposed to keep everybody above board.
Okay, thank you very much. My final thing that I just wanted to talk about has to do with the vaccinations, and it's more, maybe, I'm not sure how your system works. I would think it's maybe an advice, but actually I am aware that you did recently give the vaccinations, and I know somebody who got one of your vaccinations. You did the Johnson & Johnson vaccination. And as those of us who are in this meeting who have gotten vaccinated, I have gotten vaccinated. we know that the vaccinations affect different people in different ways, right? I mean, some people don't get any side effects and some people get very serious side effects from the vaccinations. And when you guys gave the vaccination at the prison, some inmates didn't have any reaction, but some inmates did have a reaction to that vaccination. And I also know that a lot of inmates didn't get the vaccination because they're scared of it. They talk about the chip and all kinds of whatever nonsense you're going to put in them. But, you know, there was no preemptive, as far as I understand, and we have the medical person here, there was no preemptive precautions taken, maybe, I don't know how you say it, for people who could possibly have adverse effects to the vaccination. So for example, the person I'm referring to had a very serious reaction to the vaccination, and they were unable to get, say, I don't know what you give, Tylenol or whatever the other ones are, like Tylenol to like reduce fever and things like that. When an inmate comes back into a group of people and they're having those types of reactions, it makes the other inmates afraid, even more afraid to get the vaccination in the future. Because they're saying, see, they made you sick. They're making you sick. They did this to you. So that just, it caused a concern for me that for your sake, if you're trying to get more people vaccinated, that actually makes it a worse situation. It makes it seem like it's a bad thing to vaccinate rather than, you know, it's just the reality. We get sick from that vaccination sometime, and we just need to be able to care for people through that period. Does that make sense? Did I make any sense there?
You make a lot of sense, and actually Prime Care educated our staff that we should be extremely alert and, you know, watch out. They were watching out for side effects. They increased their checks. If any inmate, like, they have to file, like, the nurses go in the block to do medications, etc. So Prime Care was trying to stay on top of something if something was happening. Again, I hear what you're saying about, you know, inmates base things off of inmates, and everybody's thought process is different. You know, it's kind of like when to convert, you know, if we start talking about other things, if inmates would only see how sick people got from other things, maybe they wouldn't dabble into that. But all we can do is provide the best that we can. And like I said, I feel like Prime Care did the best job with getting around, talking to the inmates, educating the inmates, and providing the vaccinations. And then the following day, 2 days, they were, you know, on alert, like around more often, just to try and nip any adverse effects in the bud to make sure everybody was quote unquote safe. If that individual, if you speak to that individual, again, like they on each block, they have the yellow forms that they can sign to see a sick call, to be seen by medical if they don't feel like they were being dealt with properly, you know, up to this point. Like, they can see the doctor as often as they put those slips in.
So, I mean, I can actually speak to that. So I did receive a phone call saying, I'm very sick. I have a fever. I'm freezing. I'm shaking. I'm scared. I received that phone call. And I said, well, you know, they give you Tylenol, like they'll give you something to reduce your fever and help with the aches and pains from the vaccination. And the person told me that they went to the guards and said, I need to see medical. And it was a big rigmarole, and they were told to shut up and go back. And okay, so on and so forth. So I continued to follow up. About 30 minutes later, I personally called the prison, and I called your medical department, and I spoke to a nurse. And the nurse said, oh, that person was already here. So they did get in. They said that person was already here. So I didn't question any further. I said, oh, thank goodness, everything's good and wonderful and happy, and everything's working the way that it should. And so that was the end of my call. And then I came to find out the next day that in order to get a Tylenol, it actually takes a prescription from a doctor, and that prescription from a doctor for a Tylenol couldn't come until the next day when the doctor came in. So something as simple as I am having an adverse effect from the vaccination, I'm running a fever, I have severe aches. It took until completely the next day until a doctor, my understanding, the next day until a doctor could come in to get a Tylenol. And then at that point, they got a prescription for a Tylenol for a few days, but the fever was already over. You're wondering who I'm talking about. I see in the picture.
I'm not wondering about who you're talking about at all. I guess my concern is if that's happening, the inmate should follow up with the prime care supervisors, Cindy Bowman and Paul Shu, and that should be a conversation between that incarcerated individual and our medical provider. Because like you said, like we're only hearing things second and third hand. If the administrators are being made aware of it, then they can do their due diligence to see what's fact versus what's fiction.
Well, I mean, is that the policy? You're right here. The medical person's right here. Is that the policy? If somebody came to you after hours, would they have to wait till the next day to be able to get a Tylenol?
No. If they came to somebody in the nursing staff, or it was referred to somebody in the medical staff, Tylenol and Advil are actually standing orders that we can give without a doctor's order. So that would have been put in their medication record. We do not, this is not like a hospital where you can say, you can ring a bell and say, I need my Tylenol now. So Tylenol and Advil, those kind of things are given at specific times. But if they asked for them, they should have been able to have them.
Okay, well, again, mine is just in reference to withdrawal from the vaccine, or not withdrawal, but from the vaccine,
Yes.
adverse reactions to the vaccine. You're planning to give the vaccine in the future. You're wanting to get as many inmates as possible to take the vaccine. So I would think that sometimes it's not a very nice reaction from those vaccines.
Right. Well, you
I had
have
one
that in
myself.
you have that in the public too. You know, like
Yeah.
people out in the general public get the vaccine, they have a crappy reaction to it, and then they go and they tell all their family and their friends, and then their friends don't want to get it. So you have basically the same kind of outside.
No, I also had a bad reaction, but I was able to take, Tylenol. I was able to do things to be able to help with that.
Excuse me.
I'm not discouraging anybody. So
I think we're going round and round on this, but Beth, if you would like to email the name of that inmate to the warden, then perhaps the warden could follow up on that specific case and see if something was not followed up properly. Instead of
I'm
just.
not complaining. I wasn't complaining. The situation's obviously over. The vaccination was given days ago and all the adverse effects are gone. But my comment was, in the future, when you are doing vaccinations, that again, these are human beings as well. It just might be something that you preemptively take into consideration for future people getting the vaccine in the prison.
Thank you.
That's my comment.
Okay. We have two people that have already spoken. Are we okay to entertain those folks as well? Everybody, the commissioners board, are we okay with that? All right. All right, Esther, go ahead.
Okay, I have a comment to make. I'm sitting here listening to this, and I don't know if you guys changed everything since I was incarcerated, but I would like to know what was different about the cases back then, because I filed a sexual assault case against two officers where I was totally exposed to an officer by the other officer. And I brought it to Tony Howard, Captain Ott, deputy, that was Warden Carnes and then. And it was never addressed until I got the number from from upstate. There was no facility person. Nobody said you can contact this person. You said it would be investigated. I came back from upstate and you left me to be transported with these two same individuals numerous times. Now, sorry, called you and Kat Potter and tried to hook up a meeting so she could find out what happened with the case. There are no results. You never told me. You told me. I spoke to both of the officers, and the officers did say that's how it happened, which is very much sexual assault. Okay, and then or voyeurism, whatever you call it. I was fully exposed to him for no reason. We were in a hospital because we got a nurse. No male officer to pull my pants up. Then they brought the complaint. At this time, you're deputy warden. And I complained to you, like, why are these? I don't even want to go with them. Why would you put me? I don't know the investigation. I don't know what's going on, but they're still right here with me interacting with me. The SART counselor tried to get a hold of you and set up a meeting. Prison Society tried to get a hold of you and set up a meeting. They contacted you, Tina, and they contacted Potter, my counselor, and you told them, no, I will not discuss it. I will not meet with you because case is closed. Now, let me tell you something. I didn't get without community. I addressed it multiple times with you. So now you're sitting here talking about the policy. You told me that I wasn't even a policy.
Hey, can
Maybe you guys started. I don't know.
this is a
But you
specific,
said there is no free society. So tell me how that
excuse me,
wasn't. Yeah.
excuse me. I don't want to relitigate this in public. So if you have something specific that you would like to get in touch with me, Bob Phillips, here, and it's rphillips@LebanonCNty.org. If you want to present your issues to me, I will follow up for you. And that way it can be done more confidentially, but I assure you that we will follow up and get you answers.
Sir, I will, but I don't want to put, if this is a public record, what they're saying is not the way it's done. Who checked up on that? Who makes that, like you're saying, she's telling me and Captain Otis saying, we just no, you don't. Like, I don't want that public record, like this is what they actually do. Like, people need to know the truth. Like, what are you going to do? What are your rules? And if they don't follow procedure, who checks up on them to make sure procedures are being followed? Because as an inmate, I can tell you, I waited 18 months to try to find out answers, and I still don't know.
All right, so you're not, if you're choosing not to take me up on my offer, I'm not sure that we want to continue.
I will definitely get a hold of you, sir. Definitely you. But I'm saying for the public, they say they're like, but.
All right. Very good. All right. We have, so I guess, Moto.
You want him to come in?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Unmute, please.
Mr. Palmer, do you have a question?
You have to unmute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question was in reference to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and COVID. I understand now that the CDC said that the J&J vaccine is fine to use, but I want to know, for that short period of time, I think it was about 4 to 6 weeks, that they stopped, that the CDC, said took Johnson & Johnson off the market for Americans. Did the county stop using that specific vaccine? And since there's been questionable things about that particular vaccine, are you considering using a 2-shot vaccine?
No.
Was that a no?
Oh, no. Are you asking me? So, we have, we are limited to give, mainly because we give what the Department of Health or what Prime Care provides for us. And currently what they have that they can give to us to vaccinate the patients with is the Johnson & Johnson. So that's what we used. We did not have access to a 2-shot vaccine.
Were you still using it during a period that?
No, we just gave it last week.
It was just one time this past week, which was
Last week was our first COVID clinic. So last week was the first day that we gave it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Let that message go. Thank
All right. Anything else from the floor? I say that at great risk. Anything else? Okay, move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We stand adjourned. Thank you all.